Episode 3, You Don't Know Jack. A series of grisly murders has the city gripped in terror. The globally renowned Scotland Yard has no leads as to the identity of the serial killer now known as Jack the Ripper, who haunted the streets of Whitechapel from August to November in 1888. Analysts at the company have made an amazing discovery. Mary Kelly, the final victim of the canonical five, may be saved from death. Not only will this interference not damage the time stream, but actually help it. The opportunity to alter recorded history is a rare one. The British government and Scotland Yard have their own interests. They will pay top dollar for physical evidence of the perpetrator's identity. The company will make certain of cashing in on this interest. Brad, Zahira, May, Gerald, and Grace have been sent back not only to save Mary Jane Kelly, but to inject a SAR chip into Jack the Ripper's brain so he can be pulled into the present. The timing and execution of this mission will be crucial, and this will prove to be one adventure in which very little happens, but very much is affected. The team's first task is to gather information on the area. They know where Mary's body is to be found, at her own address, 13 Miller's Court. However, they can't simply wait in ambush. The locals are already suspicious at the strangers, and either Mary or Jack would likely be frightened away should anyone be seen lurking about. And Mary worked as a prostitute. Jack the Ripper may have been brought home this fateful night as a client, or he may have snuck in later, after Mary had gone to sleep. The team decided they need to ambush Jack as he's in the home, but before he kills Mary. As insurance, Grace finds a single hiding place, crouched inside a wardrobe armed with a sword. I would like to point out here that Grace was from the Elizabethan era and had disguised herself as a man to serve as a knight. The player was new to pen and paper role-playing games, so I was really hoping she would enjoy her first outing. But for now, alone in the closet, her wait began. The rest of the team decided they needed to find Mary. They didn't want to alter her evening plans, lest that prevent her from meeting Jack, but they wanted to follow her. Locals suggested she spent a lot of time at the pub, carousing and looking for clients. This was fine with Zahira, who could gamble as she gathered information. And so they headed off to join an evening of drinking and revelry with the locals. They first went to the Queen's Head pub. It was busy, but no sign of Mary Jane Kelly, and no one seemed to know where she might be. After the bartender was satisfied they'd spent enough coin at his own establishment, he suggested they try the 10 Bells, her favorite pub in the area. It was already getting late. Gerald decided he should wait at the entrance to Miller's Court to keep an eye on who came and went. Brad, May, and Zahira continued to the 10 Bells. The 10 Bells was even busier than the Queen's Head, and already stank of booze and blood, as patrons began to pass out at their tables. A sleazy-looking fellow, who was failing at chatting up the barmaid, eventually approached Zahira. "Hey, you looking for some company?" Zahira wasn't, of course. She had a job to do. She politely declined, waving over Brad to give the hint that she wasn't available. "Oh, right. Well, have a good evening." The man headed over to a woman in a corner who wore a fake smile and chatted the fellow up. "Who's that?" Zahira asked the bartender. "Her? Oh, that's Black Mary." "Mary Kelly?" "Yeah, that's her. Found herself some work tonight by the looks of it." Zahira nudged Brad and waved over May. This was the woman they had been searching for. And the man she was fixing to take home must be Jack the Ripper. There was a bit of carousing and gambling for Zahira before Mary and her new client finally left the pub. A signal from May snapped everyone into action. They couldn't follow too closely lest they scare their targets, but it was tough to see through the fog. Luckily, they knew where they were going, and Gerald had his eye on the only entrance into the court. So they thought. Some of the locals hadn't taken kindly to a stranger lurking about their apartments, and chased Gerald off after a heated exchange. Still, Grace faithfully held her post hiding in Mary's wardrobe. The team knew they had Mary and Jack as the pair walked into the court toward Mary's small apartment. But then they stopped. Whatever they had been saying to each other became heated, and an argument broke out before they opened the door. The man stormed off, and Mary, crying, walked right past the team back onto the streets of Whitechapel. Had the team done something wrong? Had they somehow failed the mission? Well, they couldn't return to the present until the preset time on their SARS, so they tailed Mary again through the streets. It took a bit of searching, but the footsteps along the now lonely streets led them in the right direction. They soon saw a man in a long coat and top hat walking toward them. He smiled and tipped his hat. "Good evening. Wonderful night for a walk, isn't it?" The team politely responded, yet something was off. When he was out of earshot, they began to discuss among themselves. Was that Jack the Ripper? And where had Mary gone? They hurried to find his trail, meeting up with Gerald once again while in cautious pursuit. Grace was suddenly alert as there was a noise at the door. Peering through the crack of the wardrobe, she could see a hand reach through a broken window to unbolt the door. It squealed open, and a woman entered with a man. It was quite dark, though Grace's eyes were well adjusted to it. She couldn't see the figures well, but who else could it be? There was a brief scuffle as the man put a cloth over the woman's face and she fell back. Grace leaped into action, her long wait finally to pay off as she prepared the SAR injector to punch into Jack's skull, and her sword in her other hand to subdue him. Her years of training made her quick, but somehow Jack was quicker. He turned and grabbed her arm, knocking the SAR injector and her sword to the floor. He grabbed her around the neck with one arm. The door burst open. Brad jumped through the doorway and tackled Jack the Ripper, knocking him to the floor, as May retrieved the SAR injector and punched the chip into Jack the Ripper's brain. Their mission fulfilled, and their time up. They leaped to a present where Jack the Ripper had only 4 canonical victims, and Mary Jane Kelly finished a longer and less infamous life. Jack was locked up in the high-security facility awaiting a secret transfer to Scotland Yard, and despite Grace spending the entire evening hiding in the closet, her player professes to have had a wonderful time. Thank you for watching this episode of Surreal Adventures. Please leave in your comments below what you did or didn't like about the video so I may improve future videos. Also, please like and subscribe. While you're at it, feel free to click on the links in the video description to buy my books on Amazon, Elf Mastery and Elf Doubt. And here's hoping that you have a wonderful night.